Alright guys, that's Kremp again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major 3 hosted by Miami begins today, and it seems like we may have a surprise roster change going into the weekend for one of the key contenders. Toronto over the last couple of weeks have looked like a potential event winner, beating FaZe, beating Thieves in the online period just recently, but Beans apparently will not be competing. As of yesterday, it looked like he wasn't going to be there, then it looked like he was, now we're hearing the opposite yet again. What is going on and why? Who are they going to bring in instead? What does that mean for the tournament this weekend, and can they resolve this situation, Toronto, even if we're talking about the next event in Dallas? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. So much to get through. We're going to begin right about here. These are the standings as it stands. Toronto have gone up to 3rd in the standings right now. FaZe is still sitting pretty number 1 at 360 points. Thieves at 310. Toronto 250. Surge, Ravens. And then we pretty much have the scrap for the World Championship, although 150 for Boston does look kind of nice right now, but if OpTic were to beat them today, then OpTic get to 160 guaranteed. Boston would stay at 150, and then it really changes the pecking order there. So it's looking pretty nice for certainly those teams. Miami will be feeling pretty happy with themselves as well. They're also hosting the event. Maybe there's some advantage in that. And then, as we know, there's 2 teams that are totally chalked to the bottom of the league and 2 teams that still have a chance if they make decent runs this and the next major. But Toronto, they started the season looking pretty good. They turned up to Madrid, didn't get the results they wanted there. Certainly Dallas was better, and in recent weeks online they've looked like a real force. Look, I didn't have them winning the event, but I had them making the finals. I felt like they actually very much could make the finals this tournament, Toronto. But now, that potentially gets completely changed on its head. The teams are arriving out there, as Rocker say, pulling up to the land. This is the Minnesota Rocker team. Massively important weekend for these guys. It only would have taken one of those Game 5 Round 11s, one of those that they lost, to go their way, and then have made it to the winner's bracket for the major, but they didn't. They're starting and losers. They only collected 10 points during the online split. Huge weekend ahead of them if they want to turn it around. OpTic, of course, are playing as well. Big weekend for these boys too. I don't know if there's really any risk of them blowing it up after this event, but if it really doesn't go to plan, I mean, maybe they'll have to think about it, just because I'm pretty sure that after Major 4, the rosters are locked, not just for champs, but also probably for the World Cup as well. So, you know, it's obviously a talking point this weekend. It needs to be a good one for OpTic. But to be fair, they're looking good because they are getting the steak dinners in. Here's the A5 Wagyu. We got Skyz. We got Huke. Presumably we got the other OpTic guys as well. And he's eating this off like a block of Himalayan rock salt. So, you know, pretty far, I guess. And seemingly tasted pretty good. Wouldn't be massively surprised. But let's talk about the drama in Miami. We're going to start here on challenges, because I don't know what it is about challenges at these events, but every single event, there's something which is like, what are we doing here? And this is the example here. Now, to keep in mind, the venue in Boca Raton where the major is happening is not the same venue where the challenges event is happening. It's actually happening, I don't know, 10-15 minutes drive away, something like that. So it's a separate venue. I don't know where the players are going to be staying, the challenges players, for this event, but this is the way that it stands. Only teams currently playing in matches are allowed inside the competition area when the competition begins. All other teams must wait outside the competition area until they are called to play for their matches. Administration suggests teams either wait in your hotel if close, or at the picnic tables in front of the building. You'll need to show your challenges credential in order to re-enter the competition area. I don't really know why this is necessary. Maybe it's a security thing, but I mean, in previous events, that's the point of the pit, right? The pit is energy, right? You've got the players that are playing, the players that are not playing to watch the other guys. You're telling us that the boys could be sitting on picnic tables outside, potentially it might rain, I mean, who knows, over the next couple of days, could be problematic, and then they're going to get called in like schoolboys to go and play their game? Like, I don't know, maybe it's not going to affect much, but it just feels a little bit suboptimal, let's say, for the way this event could be run. But the other very suboptimal piece is what is seemingly going on right now with Toronto. So yesterday, the rumors started to emerge that something was going on before the event. Of course, they were never going to make a change, as in the team has been killing it lately. They were going to this LAN event real excited, I'm sure, that they could potentially make some serious noise this weekend. We know that their drama with Thieves has continued. Their rivalry with Thieves has actually continued to go in their direction in recent times, I'd Adam, of course, made the comment in the offseason to say, look, yeah, sure, you took Scrappy from us, you took Envoy from us, we're still going to be better than you guys next year because we brought JoeDeceives in the other way from that team. And look, so far this year, it's looked pretty good for them. But the rotation initially leaked it last night and said Beans cannot play for Toronto this weekend and is being replaced by Mercules from OpTic Brooklyn. Now, there's obviously a lot to say here. We'll get to Mercules in a second. We're going to start, though, with what's potentially happened with Beans. The idea of Beans going in reverse off the main stage I thought was pretty funny, but of course, incredibly unfortunate. This was initially described as unforeseen circumstances, and there's now been talk about that it is, well, as you might expect, visa-related to some degree. So this is, again, it's a very frustrating thing as a fan of European COD, but also these guys are based out there in Toronto. I'm sure they have everything necessary in terms of the visas to play in Toronto, in Canada, from wherever the guys are from around the world. I mean, Insight's also from the UK, CleanX is from Denmark, right? So it's not like that necessarily should be relevant here for Beans. If they've got all their ducks in a row Toronto, it should be fine. But they're based up in Canada. Getting to the US shouldn't be a massive deal, but it has affected players in the past. Famously, at the start of the Black Ops 4 season, when Dashy couldn't play for OpTic and they had to bring in Zuma for a little while. That was obviously a notable thing, and it kind of derailed OpTic's progress that season. That's certainly what they say in hindsight. So it seems like some difficulty getting the visa sorted. Now, whose fault is this? I don't know. Whether we're ever going to know, I guess we'll see, because Toronto, typically a very good organisation in terms of locking this stuff down, getting it right, making sure that their organisation and their players can get to the events and the facilities in time. You know, they're no Carolina or Ravens, right? Like, these guys are a serious org. So whether it was a miscalculation from someone or whether it simply is that security or border control were just not very happy with Beans for some reason, because the event starts today. Presumably they flew in yesterday or the day before, and that's when this type of stuff was going on. And Beans even comes out, we'll see his comment in a second, to say, yeah, these last few days have been an absolute nightmare, which implies maybe that he turned up, he was detained, I don't know the story, but you know, it's not like this has just happened today because the matches start today. The teams usually try and get out there bare minimum Tuesday, but we'll see that in a second. The replacement is another very interesting question because Mercules has been a name, certainly since the start of this season, who has really been considered to be potentially next up player in that kind of flex role. Rex, of course, is the one that Ravens went with, but let's say Rex was not available or something happens, I think they'd have probably gone for Merc. And I think it goes pretty hard as a gamer tag, I'm not going to lie as well. So this is potentially the option. And who knows what happens? I mean, it would be real fascinating if Toronto turn up and they cook with Mercules in the team and Mercules fries. Wonder what sort of questions that raises. I don't really think Beans should ever be going anywhere. I think he's too good and he fits the team too well. But, you know, there obviously would be a question if they still deliver a stellar performance. And the fact of the matter is, their best player lately has been JoeDeceives, and they've still got JoeDeceives. So, you know, they've still got that JoeDeceives CleanX sub-duo, which is very scary. And I'm not saying Beans is easy to replace, but at the same time, you know, last year they had Scrappy, this year they've got Beans instead, and they're still getting pretty decent similar results, certainly if online is anything to go by. So who knows what will happen here, but this is the way that it looked last night. Beans is out of the major due to visa issues. Mercules will replace him for Toronto, and therefore Paul X is coming out of retirement to fill in for OpTic Brooklyn. So ProLuke, Paul X, Crazy and Exceed could be the potential roster, but then things started to change. I mean, we did get this. Beans tweeted this yesterday. Clay says skill issue getting into the state. Should have said Esther. And this is, you know, this is very interesting, isn't it? Right. So if you're going to the US and Esther is the electronic, I don't know, travel authentication, whatever it means. Just looked it up. Yeah, electronic system for travel authorization. It's if we, you know, come for the UK or whatever, you pick up your Esther, you pay the US government a few quid, and then they let you in the country. Now, I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because if Beans has an Esther and he comes as a tourist for a few days, then it's probably fine. Whereas, of course, he's playing to compete and win money, and he's, you know, competing and working for an organization out there. So that's why the visa stuff can get a little bit complicated in terms of what you say to you know, to border patrol, basically. And obviously the players know about this, but Clay says, like, maybe if you just said Esther, we would have got away with it, right? But who actually knows what's happening? Now, last night, the rumours then changed. So late last night, there was an update that said Trump has reportedly freed that brother Beans, so it looks like all is back to normal and all is going to plan. And, you know, we then got this from JoeDeceives, which was Beans coming back out to the main stage, right? So, you know, people were looking at this and saying that, okay, maybe he's back, right? Maybe crisis averted, they dealt with the situation, and now Beans is going to be back on the main stage. And Joe in the replies was like, just tweeted a video of him. Did I say anything? What are you talking about? But I think the implication of this Joe D tweet was pretty clear, especially with the rumors coming out that, yeah, you know, Trump's picked up the phone and he said, look, I need those boys to fry for my fantasy team, so, you know, stick him back in. But that's potentially not what's happening, because just this morning, just before really recording this video, this tweet comes out from Beans. What an absolute disaster the last 3 days of my life have been. And when Louis CM asks him, are we seeing you on the main stage or what? He gives the cross emoji, implying, of course, that, well, he ain't going to be playing. So that's really the latest update that we have from the man himself, that no, despite the rumors that he's back, he's actually not back, and it's not looking good. So, yeah, real tough for Beans, for Toronto. It's an absolute nightmare. I'd love to hear more about why and how this happened and how they could potentially resolve it going forward. But as he says, the last 3 days have been a nightmare, right? So we're talking back to, like, obviously this, he's tweeted this very early hours of the morning in his time over there. Presumably he's out there either in Florida or he's maybe back in Toronto if he's got deported. But this is again an issue, right? Because if you try and access the States and it doesn't happen, then, you know, you run the risk of maybe next time it becomes an issue as well. Like, I'm sure they'll resolve it and I'm sure they'll figure it out, but it's just one of these issues which is very frustrating as a fan of the scene as well. You want to see the best teams go there and be able to compete, and stuff like this is always an absolute nightmare, but it's a good opportunity for Merc to get himself out there. I don't think Bean should be under too much pressure regardless, even if Merc absolutely fries, but who knows, right? Who knows what this tournament will potentially hold. We've seen it before with Spart stepping in last minute to that LAG team a couple of years ago and winning the entire thing. So very much into your thoughts in the comments below in terms of how well Toronto could potentially still do. But I don't think many are going to be picking them now as either winning the tournament or making it to grand finals as we potentially previously were. Predictions for the tournament: winner, MVP, Cinderella run, burger of the major. What do you guys think in the comments? You know, my winner, but I've picked this for the last 2 events anyway, has been Thieves. I think they're going to finally do it this time, but look, maybe I'll get proven wrong. I was pretty convinced they were going to do it last time out. I still think that when they're playing their best stuff, they play the best stuff. Like, I think they are the best team when they're playing well, and, you know, maybe this is the weekend to finally figure it out. If that happens, giving HyDra the MVP. I'd love to say my Cinderella story is Boston making a run potentially to the Sunday. I don't know if I could really justify that, but maybe it's not impossible, I don't know. But there's certainly a lot of teams would be a Cinderella story. Like if OpTic even make it to Sunday, that almost feels like a bit of a dark horse run just because of how shaky they've been looking lately. And burger of the major, I'll let you guys fill in the blanks in the comments section below. These then are the games of today. So Thieves play Ravens first up. Presumably is going to keep us nice and on schedule. You can imagine that one. Then Surge FaZe, very interesting series. Rematch of the grand finals last major. FaZe are my favourites, but could be very interesting. Heretics Ultra now gets real tasty. I had Ultra as my favourites. I don't know if I still do anymore, right? Heretics is that team. Tough to say. I think it could go either way. I still think it's going to be a game 5. Maybe I'm going to lead Heretics, but I might stick with Toronto. Just, you know, kind of gut feel stuff. The Mercules is going to step in and fry. Or maybe Beans does just miraculously wander out there onto the main stage. And then Boston OpTic closing out the day. Again, mega series. Don't know how to call it. Gut feel says Boston are the favourites, but such an important series of both of these teams, especially OpTic, you gotta say, because loser plays Falcons, and OpTic probably don't want to play Pred on land right now. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.